Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe. Percy Bysshe Shelley is one of the most popular English romantic poets. His second wife, Mary Shelley, is the author of a popular horror book, Frankenstein. Percy Shelley is regarded as one of the finest English lyric poets. Ozymandias, Ode to the West Wind, and The Mask of Anarchy are some of his popular verse poems that have been very commonly anthologized. Sadly, he died at an early age of 29 when his schooner drowned in the sea. Shelley's poem, Ozymandias, is about a king who attempts to live forever in history, have been beaten down with time. Let's listen to it. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions red, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear, My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains, round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare. The lone and level sands stretch far away." Let's now learn more about the poem. Ozymandias is also another name for Ramses the Great, the pharaoh of ancient Egypt. The poem reflects the irony that how time and history can bring down a mighty, imperious king while art lives on. The poem starts with the poet meeting a traveler who had come back from ancient land of Egypt. The traveler tells the poet that he saw a stone sculpture of 2 huge feet that was without the body in the midst of the desert. The traveler adds that near those legs lay a huge, crumbling stone head that was half buried in the sand. The frown that appears on this stone head, along with the pursed lips that reflect the arrogant, disdainful and commanding smile of the king, make it clear that the sculptor understood the true nature of his subject, the pharaoh. The proof of his understanding has survived all these years and can now be viewed in the lifeless, half-shattered trunkless legs and stone head lying in the sand. The sculptor's hand had created the stone statue, captured the pharaoh's feelings of pride and hatred for enemies. It was these feelings that the pharaoh's heart had fed on. It was as if the sculptor's hand had mocked the king by etching the king's true feelings in the stone structure. There is an inscription on the pedestal of the statue of the trunkless legs, I am Ozymandias, the King of Kings. Look upon my works. The pharaoh says his works are so magnificent that any attempts to surpass their brilliance will end only in despair. This is also a real inscription of a Ramses statue present in the museum that Shelley had used in his poem. However, beside a sculptor bearing such strong and proud words, only decayed ruins and the wreck of a past history remain. of the mighty king's past, only the bare, massive wreck of his sculpture survives in the desert, with only the sand stretching around it for miles on end. Ozymandias, therefore, is a poem with second-hand narration, that is, the traveller narrating the story to the poet. Not only does the poem explain the once powerful King Ramses' attempt to reign forever, it also illuminates the struggle between artist, the sculptor, and his regal subject. Shelley's poem Ozymandias is a metaphor that a statue with an arrogant face and condescending inscription lies ruined in the desert. It is as if the ancient king's boast has been disapproved by nature and time. Today Ozymandias' works have crumbled. His civilization has vanished, and everything has been turned to dust by the destructive forces of history and nature. Ironically, it's the sculptor's impressions of the king that survive in the wreck in the desert, and not the king himself. Thus the poet demonstrates that the legacy of art and language outlasts the legacies of power. Shelley has written the poem Ozymandias as a sonnet. A sonnet is a 14-lined poem that English poets usually write as iambic pentameter. Iambic pentameter describes how a particular rhythm is established by the words in a line of the poem. A rhythm is measured in small groups of syllables, known as feet. The word iambic in iambic pentameter describes the type of feet, that is, an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. The word pentameter indicates that a line has 5 of these feet. The rhythm scheme of the poem Ozymandias is a bit unusual for a sonnet of this era. It interlinks the octave that is the first 8 lines of a sonnet with the sestet, the last 6 lines of the poem. The rhyme scheme of this sonnet is AB, AB, AC, DC, ED, EF, EF. There are various literary devices also used in this poem. Alliteration is evident in phrases such as cold command and sans stretch, while he has also used synecdoche, which is a figure of speech in which a part of something is used to refer to a whole object or vice versa. Synecdoche is distantly related to another figure of speech called metaphor. Synecdoche is evident in the poem Ozymandias in the phrases such as hand that mocked and heart that fed, that represent the sculptor, the artist, and the pharaoh. Therefore, with the use of different poetic devices, the poet has narrated Ozymandias' story of wanting to reign forever and yet being crushed by the powerful force of history.